Kelly, do you remember the time before we had a nudity database in our pockets? By that I mean cell phones.
Um, yes.
Do you remember a time where we didn't have access to it on our desktop computers, didn't have late night cable, maybe not even access to scrambled porn, and instead all we had was that sweet gray brick that was the NES?
Um, sort of.
Good, because tonight we're going to talk about nudity on the NES.
Yeah, which, theoretically could have been a Bog Panda After Dark episode, but this is NES nudity. It's it's kind of the Golden Girls of nudity. I don't know how to describe it exactly. So
Perfect.
I don't think it could be at dusk. I mean, this could be a Bog Panda at dusk or maybe even late afternoon. So I think we're okay to stay with our standard titling for this. But yeah, super interested in we did, guess who found the video? Not me. Mike shared it, and Big Ole Words did a bit where he apparently spent a lot of time scrutinizing every pixel on the screen to come with numerous instances of nudity on the NES. Something I was a little surprised to see, and a little more in Japan than in the United States, but it was still in both.
And you won't be surprised to know I have a prop for tonight, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned that prior to us starting to record. Um, are you going to just whip it out at some point in time, or
Yeah, I'm just going to expose it when the time is right.
okay, all right. Well, I thought we might just kind of hit. So it's a great video, Big Old Words. Check it out. Go through. He covers a lot of a lot more nudity on the NES than you might have thought. But I thought we could maybe each pick a couple of the ones he mentioned, and you being the aficionado that you are might actually have more. Who knows? So we'll see on that. But I can kind of kick it off that I kind of think one of the kind of the raciest on it would be Go 13 for me. Uh, Particularly, I think this was one where it was just the Japanese version where you got the cutscene where a young lady has come up to the penthouse of the kind of James Bond-esque guy. Um, and she, much like a deciduous tree during the fall, sheds quite a few articles of clothing, and is there in her pixelated nudeness. So I think the most, and this is a stretch to use this term, anatomically correct execution was this one, and just seemed the nudiest to me. So Go 13 would be kind of one of my notables on this list.
So first off, I think the nudiest needs to be a shirt.
I think we do that.
So the one that I think is the most important to mention. So that's a really good choice. I remember that game when I was a kid, the American version of it, and even though the nudity is cut out, the scene itself is still in there, the cut scene. So she goes up to his hotel room. She starts to take her jacket off. Then it cuts to outside the window where it's just silhouettes. And you see them kind of embrace and the lights go off. So it's kind of implied sex there. So I remember that being a big deal when I was a kid. And we didn't get the version with the actual nudity. So very interesting. One game though that we did get nudity on that I distinctly remember, and I have a real soft spot for. I have a fondness for this game. It is not well liked by a lot of people, and I get that. but it's my prop. It's coming out, Kelly. Brace yourself.
Yeah, I am.
It is Taboo, the Sixth Sense. This is a game I've mentioned a couple of times on here. This is a super weird game, but this is official. You can see the seal of approval on there. It's not like Gauntlet, which was on Atari's bootleg cartridge. This is an official NES cartridge, and this is made by Rare. So this is GoldenEye, Banjo Kazooie, Rare. So this isn't some little indie company or anything like that. This game was a huge controversy when I was a kid. And I think that was the beginning of my fascination with it because the best way to get kids to want something is to tell them they can't have it. That's a great start to get people interested in something. This game is really weird. It has a terrible reputation. And I think it's one of those things where does the price point make sense for what you're getting? Had I bought this game when it originally released for 50 or $60 or whatever, used hard earned, snow shoveling and birthday money that I saved up and spent $50 on this, I would be mad. But I didn't. I got this much later, so I can just enjoy it for what it is. It is a fortune teller simulator. So it is you're going to a fortune teller. You put in your information. They ask you questions. You very slowly write in your responses to things, choosing one letter at a time. It's very slow. Reads your fortune and then gives you lucky numbers to go and play the lottery with. Because kids love fortune telling and gambling and writing things. Those are all the things the kids are into. During the fortune telling segments, it does show you the tarot cards with little characters that pop out like three-dimensionally from it, little animated sprites and things like that. And if you've ever looked at a deck of tarot cards, some of those people are naked. And somehow that continued into the game. So there are multiple naked characters in this game. So it's the most nudity of all the games that he showed because there are multiple naked people on there. You get a few naked women and a naked guy's butt, and you'll see them if you just let the track screen run through. A couple of them will pop up eventually. Now, what I described to you though is the entire game. So that's it. It reads your fortune, gives you your lottery numbers after you painstakingly type in a bunch of information. The whole thing takes 5 to 10 minutes or whatever to play, and that's it. Play is loose. That's what it is, a fortune teller simulator. So had I paid full price for this, probably would have been upset about it. Having it as a weird oddity and novelty, and especially something that caused such a huge stir at the time, I have a soft spot for this game.
Yeah, I think a Super Console X version will do me just fine on Taboo. Although it is impressive to have that. So well played on that. Now, if you would go in again, so you go in the first time, you type in all the information, you get it. Does it retain it so the next time you come in? Or so now if you went in and re-entered all your stuff again, is it likely a different fortune and all that? Is there
Yeah, I've done it a few times in a row just to make sure it doesn't give you the same exact thing back to back. So it is auto, randomly selecting different things as you go along. So you can do it a few times and get different responses and different readings and things. But you do have to put all of your information in every time.
Alrighty. So actually I've got a prop for the next one. The next one is Kid Nicky, and it's a little cherub that launches projectiles out at players. And while I don't have the game, I do have a prop I can show. So if I no, I'm not gonna it a lower extremity is utilized, as with kind of all great Greek art. I don't know if cherubs were naked that much. I guess they were, but he has a projectile launcher that he uses, and kind of like what a fountain would be. And I think you've seen kind of the gag fountains, or back in the day when uh, cigarette novelty cigarette ashtrays were popular. There's ones out there where they have the little cherub urinating on your cigarette because that's funny, and all that. So it's kind of in the spirit of that great humor, that has always been very popular in the Americas. So I did think just in terms of that, and in you true NES fashion, I think he's a 2 pixel dimensioned individual. So, but he's a cherub, so who's to judge, right? So, so Kid Nicky was another fun one for me, and I have no prop. Well, I have a prop. I'm not going to show the prop.
The other one that I would mention would be Kid Icarus, which I was glad that he brought up because there's not nudity in the game. It's in the manual for the game. And I remember so I liked Kid Icarus and my friends and I played it a lot. One of my friends owned it. I didn't own a physical copy of it. I rented it a couple times though. So it was a game I was pretty familiar with. But like a lot of kids, none of us ever read the manual at the time. So it was pretty deep into our Kid Icarus experience where somebody finally grabbed the manual to flip through to look for something and was like, holy shit, and showed us that there's a illustration of a naked version of one of the characters in the manual. So I was glad that he brought that up and showed that because I distinctly remember not only us discovering that, but like way into having and playing Kid Icarus because we didn't read the manuals.
Yeah, and it's not as if I was, keeping track on all the different ones and ranking which was the hottest nudity, but if I had been, I think that the Kid Icarus illustration probably would be pretty close to the top, mostly because it didn't suffer from the high level of pixelization required to actually be executed in a Nintendo 64 game. So that was good. The last one for me is Little Mermaid and in scene kind of deal towards the end. The King Neptune or whomever takes his trident and Ariel's far away uh, in her mermaid form. And so he goes, I'll make you human. And you're on a rock. And so you're not a fish on your lower half anymore. And so the fish part goes away. Her hair is appropriately draped. Again, this is very small, very far away, very limited number of pixels to depict it. But I think you kind of see her bare legs when and can make some assumptions on it. But I thought I just had to give that one props for using kind of like the least amount of canvas to at least convey, hey, something just happened there. So nicely played, Little Mermaid.
The last one that I would mention would be Castlevania. Castlevania also doesn't really have nudity per se. There's a lot of statues around the castle. They're not detailed, so there's no like nipples or anything like that on there. They're smooth statues, but even so, they were covered up in the US version. There's actually I love the Castlevania games. They are among my favorites, right up there with Doom and Mortal Kombat, Road Rash. Love the Castlevania games. There are a lot of little differences in those early games between the Japanese and American versions. If you're looking for a totally legal way to play those, there's the Konami Castlevania Anniversary Collection. There's actually, I think, three collections out now. But the first one that they did has the first few games on there. And you can switch between the US and Japanese versions of the games to see those differences, which is pretty cool. Particularly in, I believe it's Castlevania 3, they used special sound chips on the Japanese version that, for whatever reason, Nintendo wouldn't let them use in the US. So it sounds way better. The only game you don't get the uncensored version of, even switching back and forth, is Kid Dracula. Kid Dracula was so there was a thing in Japan where they would do parody versions of games. Usually the main companies would do the parody versions themselves. So Alucard, who's Dracula's son in the Castlevania games, got his own parody spin-off game called Kid Dracula, and it was him as a rambunctious little kid as a platforming game. The game is still really hard, Castlevania style though. And it's actually fun. It's a cool little game. The first boss is one of the jumping vampires in the original version of the game, and you can find ROMs for it. He has a swastika on him. That is not in the collection. Obviously, that was taken off of the American version, but even if you go to the Japanese version of the collection, that is still censored. That's not on there. That means something different in Japan. It wasn't them trying to be edgy or anything like that. It's the symbol for a temple. So it's just a religious symbol, but obviously it has different meaning in other parts of the world, most of the world at this point.
Yeah, I believe in North America, more on the southwest portion of the country. I think there was also that symbol was carried across by some Native Americans as well. Yeah, it got a bad break. Wrong guy picked it up.
There's a building here in Philadelphia in the old city section, which is where a lot of the historical landmarks that people think of when they think of Philadelphia, Liberty Bell and Constitution Center and all that stuff. That's where those are. There's an old building there with swastikas all around the border and the masonry. Again, built long before World War II, long before any connotations with the Nazis or anything like that. So it's still jarring to people when they see it for the first time, though, especially a lot of tourists walk past it because of the area that it's in.
Well, if swastikas bring you down, you should subscribe to the Bog Panda YouTube channel because we have been swastika free, I think. I'm pretty sure. I think and the only reason I paused is that we played some online Wolfenstein one time, and you never know, one of those might have popped out there somewhere. But by and large, we're nearly completely swastika free. So you should subscribe to the Bug Panda YouTube channel, hit that bell. You'll be notified when new videos are put out. We'll be talking about video games, music. You'll also get a chance on a daily basis to hear Hard No. It's the world's shortest podcast, less than a minute long every episode, published daily. So you can get that. There's some Game Boy ROMs out there, Slapdash, Evil Empire produced series of Game Boy games, picking on a poor innocent. That's out there. There's some Doom levels and some merchandise as well. So you can find all those links in the description. So, Mike, any closing thoughts on nudity on the NES?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's more examples out there. I'm gonna have to go and track a few of those down and play them for myself. But I really can't stress to everybody enough: play Taboo.
I'll do it, but I'm not going to pay money beyond whatever beyond the Super Console X purchase. So, thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bog Panda.